Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yeah, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Aaron Williams.
And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are radio for the local craft beer movement, broadcasting not from our studios, but from the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting at the Prado in Sandy Springs. And I'm Aaron Williams.
And I'm Tim Dennis. And we've got a fully loaded show this week, Aaron. So we're going to break our format a little bit today, and we've got some awesome interviews lined up. We'll talk to Owen Ogletree from Brewtopia, who puts on the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting. We'll also talk to Matt and Lauren Curling from Variant Brewing Company coming to Roswell, Ryan Skinner and Todd DiMatteo from Good Word coming to Duluth, and Mitch Steele, Kerry Falcone, and Bob Powers from a to-be-determined brewpub coming to Atlanta.
TBD, exactly. Yeah. So, because we've got, we're kind of in a special place here. We're doing the live show at the Cask Ale Tasting. We're not going to have our normal headline segment or our hot list. So we want to just give it a shout-out to some of our awesome sponsors right here. Truck and Tap, Your Pie Perimeter, and our newest sponsor that we have is CRL Contracting. So if you're looking for the latest news and events, by the way, just hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, and we've got the details for you there. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to waste any time here at ACAT. So let's get right into it. You may know the name Mitch Steele from Stone Brewing Company, and Stone. Mitch recently left Stone. He's starting a brew pub here in Atlanta, along with Bob and Kerry. And so we wanted to talk to those guys, get a little info on what they've got coming up. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
No, thank you.
So, guys, first question, one that, we love Georgia beer. Us locals, we love Georgia beer. But we know our laws are a challenge. So, question I've seen a lot on the forums, and that is, why Atlanta? How'd you end up here?
I think first off, Kerry lives in the area, so Kerry knows Atlanta, and he was really excited about it. And I honestly have not spent a lot of time in Atlanta until the last 6 months, so I've really grown to love it. I think it's an amazing city, and the beer scene here is very hardcore. Really, really good beers and really good beer people and
some
beer
good
bars.
Mexican food too. Right?
Yeah, that's. Well, it's funny because Kerry doesn't like Mexican food, so whenever he's not with us, Bob and I go out and get Mexican.
Good
deal.
Yeah,
it's been great. Yeah, and we found a wonderful spot, a wonderful location, and this city is just a really good. I think it's kind of like for the rest of the country, it's kind of an undiscovered beer hotbed, but I think it's everywhere. Everywhere we go is serving really great local beer, and it's been a lot of fun to get to know it.
Awesome. And that's, looking up info for this, I see between the three of you guys have a century of brewing and beer industry experience. So that's a long time. So definitely, not your first rodeo here. So it's lots of experience coming to the table.
Yeah, we've all done a lot of different things in the beer industry. So we're a good team. We've got different skill sets and different experiences, and we work together really well. So
excellent. Now, talking about the brew pub itself, of course, it's TBD, right? So do you guys have a vision of what you guys want to do, the location or anything? Maybe Kerry can speak to that a little bit better.
This is something that we've been talking about doing for about 5 years. And one of the things that we've been doing is going around and visiting craft breweries all around the world. We've been, looking at best practices from all over the U.S. and all over Europe, and we're really excited to do this specifically here in Atlanta. We think this is an incredible craft community, and, over the past 5 years, we've been going around and looking at beer gardens and rooftop bars and different concepts and trying to take all those best practices that we've seen and put them under one roof.
Excellent. Now, you guys, your location is going to be on the Beltline, popular buzzword here in Atlanta right now.
Yeah.
A lot of cool stuff coming there in the Ponce Highland area. So what kind of attracted you? What brought you to that exact area?
First of all, we love Atlanta. We love Midtown. If we were going to do this in Atlanta, we wanted to be downtown. We wanted to be on the Beltline. We love the foot traffic. We love the fact that there's just a lot of consumers around, a lot of people. There's other great brewers in the area. And, again, we just thought it would be an awesome opportunity to be a part of the Atlanta craft community. We found a building that we think works really well for our profile and all the things we're trying to put together. For us, this is about, creating an environment that's a little bit unique and maybe a little bit different. We want to try to incorporate the brewing process into the dining experience. So when you're sitting in our bar, there's going to be a big glass wall. You're going to be able to look right through to Mitch's brew house and his cellar, and I think it'll be pretty neat.
Awesome. Now, we've all drank ton of Stone beers.
Oh, yeah.
So we know the profile there. So is that, Mitch, will we see continuation of that? You're going to branch out a little bit of both? What can we expect from the beer there?
Yeah, that's it's something we're still talking about, but I have a certain style that I brew that is somewhat Stone-esque. I mean, I was brewing those kind of beers as a home brewer before I joined Stone, so that's what I like to brew, and so you'll certainly see some things that have those kind of stylistic considerations in them. Definitely some IPAs and some fairly intensely flavored beers. But I'm hoping that we get to do a little bit of everything. I don't want to ever rule anything out from a brewing standpoint. I'd love it if we could brew some lagers, some German-style beers, maybe some more traditional styles than what I was doing at Stone, and kind of honor the tradition as well as the innovation. And that's what floats my boat as a brewer, is nailing a beer that's millions of people have already brewed and getting it right.
Yeah, and it's funny because we talk to a bunch of brewers, and they usually always say the same thing. I'm like, if you can't hide in a Pilsner, you've got to be on point with your Pilsner or your other more basic beers, because again, there's no place to hide.
That's absolutely right, and it's a tough style to brew and do it well. I think the brewers that I know, we all call it the brewer's beer. Yeah. Because it's an indication of how talented you are as a brewer, how good your Pilsner is.
And that's something we've noticed from going around talking to a lot of brewers and breweries, is when these guys are just kind of hanging out with each other and sipping a beer, a lot of times they'll have something like that, a Pilsner, a Czech Pils or something that they're sipping on. So you should throw everybody off here, Mitch, and don't do any IPAs at all.
That's right.
See what everybody comes in excited. Stone, great. All right, hi.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
we don't.
No.
Can I get an IPA?
Yeah.
We don't have that.
I'm not sure that's a recipe for success.
Exactly.
But it would be fun, right?
April Fools, perhaps you could do that.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So anyway, we're talking again with Mitch Steele from Brewpub TBD, Carrie Falcone, and Bob Powers from again the Brewpub project to be named later here in the Atlanta metro area. You just finished judging the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting.
I did.
What did you think? What were some of your thoughts about the beers around here?
Well, I could talk about the beers I tasted specifically this morning, and they were very good. I think I tasted probably 14 or 15 different beers, and there were some really, really nice beers. And, casks are hard. It's hard to make sure that they're going to be properly carbonated and clear and all that kind of stuff. But there were some beers that just nailed it as far as flavors. I'd say in general, I've really enjoyed the beers that I've had, the local beers here. And, Bob and Carrie and I, when we're together, we go out and we drink local beers and try things we haven't tried before. And, there's some really good breweries here. Really good breweries.
That's a good way of market research, right? That's how you can
absolutely
justify it. Yeah, exactly.
We had a discussion the other day, and actually talking to Scott Hedin last week, Aaron, we mentioned this too, that because of some of the challenges here with Georgia laws, I think that it kind of raises the bar for any brewer in Georgia. So, we don't have I think we have a good local beer scene. We're not the best beer town in the world. We've got a ways to go with that. But overall, if you take the overall average of our beer, we're pretty solid in Georgia. If you want a quality beer of just about any style, you can find a Georgia brewery that does it. So it's, we're looking forward to what's coming in the future and seeing what's coming up there. So guys, is there any timeline yet on what you're looking at?
Q4. That's
Q4. Okay.
Q4. Okay.
Right.
So about November, just Thanksgiving. We'll have a Thanksgiving open or something.
Our focus is on doing it right, not quickly. Yeah. It's something that we've been working on for a long time, and we're more focused on making sure that we do it the way we want to do it versus a timeline.
That's great.
Hopefully that November time frame will be up and running.
Well, I tell you what, with the addition of this brew pub, and we've got some fantastic brew pubs already in the metro Atlanta area, so we're going to be really
Aaron trying to put the hard press on for his Thanksgiving plan.
I'm just saying, you can have the beer guys turkey dinner at just throwing it out there. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, is there anything else you'd like to add right now that maybe we didn't cover?
Any way we can follow your progress, or is there a...
Yeah, I think once we have a name and we can start talking about the name and our vision a little bit more, then we can have some conversations. So we've got some names in the trademark office now. We're just waiting to hear back on whether they'll be cleared or not. And and as we start construction and start building out, I'm sure things will get out and. We'll be able to share some stuff.
There's always a good radio show that you can always tell.
Yeah.
If you need the scoop.
We're there.
We're there for you.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Guys, Mitch Steele, Carrie Falcone, Bob Powers, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show, and we'll be back right after this.
Have you ever thought about owning your own brewery but don't know what it takes to get one built? We're CRL Contracting, and we build breweries. We're the most experienced contractors in the state of Georgia when it comes to building new breweries and tap rooms. If you've been to Orpheus, Second Self, or Scofflaw, then you know what kind of work we can do. Just give us a call at 678-546-3382 or visit crlcontracting.com. CRL Contracting. We build breweries.
You do not want to miss Nuit Belge, February 25th at the Foundry at Puritan Mill in downtown Atlanta. Nuit Belge pairs Belgian and Belgian-inspired beers along with some of the South's best chefs. Head to nuitbelge.com/Atlanta today. Use promo code BGR10 for $10 off your admission. That's Nuit Belge, an evening of Belgian beers and some fantastic food. Saturday, February 25th at the Foundry at Puritan Mill. Tickets and details at nuitbelge.com/Atlanta. And don't forget, use promo code BGR10 for $10 off. Can't get enough craft beer talk? Of course you can't. That's why you need to head to iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcasts and sign up right now for Project BGR. Project BGR is where Tim and myself get to talk to some of the big names in brewing from across the country and the world. We get the scoop on what's going on with breweries like Cigar City, Boston Beer Company, Jester King, Burial, Ballast Point, and more. Project BGR, new shows every other week. Subscribe today on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. Project BGR, it's a craft beer podcast.
Morgan and Lisa with Your Pie Perimeter here. We'd like to invite you to our store for a beer.
Is there anything better than pizza?
Yep. Brick oven pizza that's made fresh and paired with a cold craft beer.
That's what you get at Your Pie Perimeter, located in the Perimeter Place Shopping Center by Perimeter Mall.
It's the perfect place to relax on the patio with a pint after work or bring the family in.
Follow Your Pie Perimeter on Facebook for all our beer events and specials, including beer tastings that you won't find anywhere else.
That's Your Pie Perimeter, located in Perimeter Place Shopping Center next to Chipotle. Tell them that the beer guy sent you.
If you really like craft beer, the Stout Brothers Smyrna Beer Market invites you to their store. Not just growlers and craft beer, but everything you need for backyard barbecues and tailgating is available at Stout Brothers. Big Green Egg, accessories, local meats, cheeses, sauces, pickles, and more. If the gang's plans involve your backyard this weekend, you gotta visit the Stout Brothers. Stock up today and get ready for life. It's quite simple. If you really like craft beer, you have to visit the Stout Brothers Smyrna Beer Market in the Smyrna Market Village.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Now, back to the Beer Guys radio show.
And welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. BeerGuysRadio.com is our website, and we are coming at you from the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting at the Prado in Sandy Springs. So with us right now, we've got Owen Ogletree from Brewtopia. He's put on the show for about 13 years now, so Thanks for having us on today.
No problem. Thanks for coming, guys.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Owen, so this is a great event, man. I've been to it the last few years and checked it out, so I missed some of the new ones, but very unique, great event. We just talked to Mitch Steele, who judged today some of the casks and that. So for those that may be out here for the first time or maybe haven't been, what would they expect coming to this event?
Well, I think Cask Ale is the best presentation of craft beer in the world because it's a 10-gallon little stainless steel vessel with rounded ends on it. So the beer ferments, has a secondary fermentation inside the cask. It's all natural carbonation, and it's a very light carbonation. And usually the beer is served a little bit warmer, still nice chill on it, but a little bit warmer than freezing cold draft beer, and it's not going to have nearly the volume of coarse artificial CO2 as draft beer. It's going to have a nice, soft, creamy carbonation, so you can taste the malt and the hops and the fermentation character and the special ingredients and the processes and the spices instead of a mouthful of heavy, artificial gas. And that's what I really love about Cask Ale is it's alive and it's beautiful and it's elegant and it's just so interesting.
We see a ton of styles here. Can any style be done in the cask, be presented that way? Are there certain styles that are better suited to it or not as well suited?
Yeah, I think brewers in England will agree that a lighter ale, something in the 5.5% alcohol range, something more sessionable usually is the best presentation in a cask because it allows all those elegant flavors to come through, the subtle flavors to come through, along with the fermentation character that you get in the cask. We have a lot of beers here that are 11, 12% alcohol, And I think they're still good in a cask because they're not too fizzy, and you can taste everything in them. But and you don't usually see lagers in a cask because lagers are meant to be, lager. The yeast drops out completely, and they're very clean. So they're more suited to ales. But if you take a pale ale on draft and a pale ale on cask, the exact same recipe, they're going to taste like two different beers because of the presentation and the carbonation and the secondary fermentation in the cask.
Yeah, I've noticed that. It's definitely an interesting way to kind of judge that something. Just take the same ales, regular draft and on cask, and you get a totally different beer sometimes. It's amazing.
Right,
yeah.
absolutely. And there are a few here that are variations on beers that are available regular draft here.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
For those that come out and want to kind of see what the differences are, there are some examples here where they can see the difference in a style they may have already had there. So,
So, Owen, tell us a little bit about maybe the history of cask ales. Like, how did this come about, and what's kind of the background behind it?
Well, cask ale just differentiates the English style of the way of doing things. In England, it was just always everywhere in the Middle Ages had cask ale. You had a wooden barrel, and you had a soft spot in the wooden barrel, and you tapped it with a little a wooden tap with a little spinning nozzle on there that allowed you to drain the beer out by gravity. So everybody did that in the Middle Ages, and for some reason, when the industrial age happened and the rest of the world went to draft beer and kegged beer, England just kept on with the cask ale because it's just always been so popular there in the pubs. Here at the Cask Ale Tasting, it's all gravity fed. We put a cask on the bar with a nice little tap in there, and you just turn the knob and it just rolls out with gravity. But if you go to a nice pub in England, you're going to have the cask down in the cellar where it's 50 degrees, nice and chilled, and they're going to have to. There's no gas being pushed on the beer like a draft beer. So in England, they're going to have a hand pump tap where you have to just use your muscle power to suction that beer up into the pint glass at the bar, which is really kind of cool.
So bartenders have to be a little more fit in England than they do here in America, right?
And they always have
cask can.
They always have one arm a lot bigger than the other.
There you go.
There you go.
So I know we've seen more of them. Oh, and you've always brought cask ales to Georgia and America in general, but I've seen more where certain bottle shops may do a cask offering or something like that.
Yeah.
Are they becoming more popular in America again? Is there a resurgence there?
There really was. I've seen it die off a little bit in recent years with the barrel-aged sour, crazy extreme beer craze. But the places around the country, the craft beer places that do cask ale and do it well, it's very, very popular, and people love it. And it's still extraordinarily popular in England.
Now, we've looked over the beer list here, and there's a ton to choose from here. What's some you're really looking forward to today, Owen?
Well, I love the English casks. We have 7 casks from England here that are all very nice. We shipped them over express across the ocean, so I judged those this morning. We awarded prizes. Those are amazing. And I also I like the classic styles, a good dry hopped IPA, a good dry hop pale ale, a stout with some, maybe a little bit of cocoa nibs thrown in there or some wood chips. You can't beat that.
Yeah,
I love a stout on cask.
Yeah,
I think the way that
porter.
that's presented from the cask is really nice.
But we have cask here where the brewers go crazy, and in the cask they'll put in, 12 different little ingredients in there to give the cask a special flavor. So, those are sometimes really good.
Yeah,
and interesting.
It gives it a little bit more of a chance to experiment a little bit. Those brewers have a time. So
right,
you've got now, of course, in addition to the Cask Ale Tasting or the Cask Ale Fest, you've also got the Classic City coming up in Athens. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Well, that's our 21st annual Classic City Brew Fest coming up on Sunday, April 9th in Athens, Georgia. We do it at the Graduate Hotel Foundry Music Hall. We take over the whole facility. And it is a fantastic beer festival. There are ballrooms full of beer. There's the music hall full of beer. We take over the wedding pavilion in the middle of the facility with 25 cask ales. And people just walk around. The weather's usually beautiful. And you go from place to place. You're seeing different people in each room. You're seeing different beer in each room. And there are almost 500 beers there, which is pretty impressive.
Ballrooms full of beer. That's
good.
That's a beautiful
thing. It's a good thing to have, right?
Absolutely.
No, and you have the tough job of traveling the world, drinking beer, taking people on tours, and going around. It's brutal.
It is.
Watching you. I know it's brutal for me to watch your Facebook when we're doing that.
Yeah.
So but
he's always like, "Hey, I'm in Budapest. Hey, I'm in Germany.
Right.
Hey, I'm in Italy." I'm like, really?
Where's your most recent adventure taking you? Where have you been recently?
Oh, well, we just went to England for Christmas with my wife. Went to Budapest to check out the beer scene there, which is very much like America right now. A lot of IPAs, a lot of sour beer, a lot of barrel-aged. They're kind of a lot of new beer culture in Europe is taking its cues from America, which 20 years ago no one would have ever believed. But it's we got the best beer in the world right now, so it's easy to believe. I'm taking a group of 32 brewers and pub owners and beer writers to Ireland in 2 weeks for our February trip. We always do a big February group trip, and I'm taking a big group of people to Germany, Munich, Bamberg, Eyinger in October. So
no rest, huh?
No rest.
Oh, that's a tough job, but someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Owen, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Great festival, great event here. So if folks want more info on maybe your travels or your events and that, where should they go?
Just go to brewtopia.info.
Brewtopia.info.
And at the very top of the page under my logo, there are links to all the trips, beer events, festivals, everything.
And people can sign up for trips on there. You list your trips there if they want to get on one of your beer trips.
Scroll down on the right a little bit, put your email in there. I don't share it with anybody. You'll never get anything except from me, and I will keep you posted about everything we're doing.
Excellent.
That sounds great.
We're going to take a little break here. Coming up next, we're going to be talking with Matt and Lauren Curling from Variant Brewing coming to Roswell. You're listening to the Beer Guys radio show from the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting, and we'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. This is Larry WACHS from the WACHS Modcast, Atlanta's #1 smartphone radio show. And I've been drinking beer with the Beer Guys on Beer Guys Radio. And I want to know why I have 11 fingers all of a sudden.
The Beer Guys are back right after this.
Hey, it's Aaron, and you know what I hate? When I miss a favorite TV show and forget to DVR it. Don't let this tragic tale happen to you when it comes to Beer Guys Radio. Subscribe to us on demand. It is easy. If you've got iTunes, Stitcher, or any other iOS or Android podcast app, search for us, or go to beerguysradio.com, click listen, and you can copy and paste the RSS feed. While you're there, by the way, give us a review. It really helps. That's Beer Guys Radio on demand. Catch it today.
The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com.
There is something in the air in Kennesaw. I'm sure you've noticed it. It is the sweet, sweet smell of barbecue permeating from The Nest, a new barbecue and beer restaurant in K-Town. The Nest is your new restaurant if you really love barbecue. Ribs, brisket, chicken, oh my. Did we mention the bar? The Nest of Kennesaw offers 49 taps of craft beer and an amazing bottle list as well. It's quite simple. If you really like barbecue and craft beer, you have to visit The Nest. Barbecue and beer in Kennesaw, near historic downtown on Cherokee. You do not want to miss Nuit Belge, February 25th at the Foundry at Puritan Mill in downtown Atlanta. Nuit Belge pairs Belgian and Belgian-inspired beers along with some of the South's best chefs. Head to nuitbelge.com/Atlanta today. Use promo code BGR10 for $10 off your admission. That's Nuit Belge, an evening of Belgian beers and some fantastic food. Saturday, February 25th at the Foundry at Puritan Mill. Tickets and details at nuitbelge.com/Atlanta. And don't forget, use promo code BGR10 for $10 off.
Morgan and Lisa with Your Pie Perimeter here. We'd like to invite you to our store for a beer.
Is there anything better than pizza?
Yep, brick oven pizza that's made fresh and paired with a cold craft beer.
That's what you get at Your Pie Perimeter, located in the Perimeter Place Shopping Center by Perimeter Mall.
It's the perfect place to relax on the patio with a pint after work or bring the family in.
Follow Your Pie Perimeter on Facebook for all our beer events and specials, including beer tastings that you won't find anywhere else.
That's Your Pie Perimeter, located in Perimeter Place Shopping Center next to Chipotle. Tell them that the Beer Guys sent you.
It's Aaron and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock is always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy. They have 12 of them. Bottles, too. Not sure what to drink? All of their beer servers are Cicerone certified. And if you got someone who isn't a beer fan, not to worry. Truck and Tap carries wine, mixed drinks, and even handcrafted sodas.
As for the truck part, well, that's when it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily. That way, you're getting a different menu every day.
Check it out, Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Well, I'm sure I'd feel much worse if I weren't under such heavy sedation.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Hey, it's the Beer Guys Radio Show. I'm Aaron.
I'm Tim.
And we are here with the folks from Europe High Perimeter, Morgan and Lisa McClellan. It's your second anniversary coming up. Congratulations.
Woo-hoo!
Very exciting. Tell us a little bit more about what's going on.
So we have a very fun celebration planned on February the 4th. It's a Saturday, and we'll be celebrating all day from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. You know, if you haven't dined with us before, we'd love for you to try us out. And if you've dined with us a lot, thank you so much. Our success couldn't be possible without, you know, all the amazing pizzas that you've enjoyed with us.
All the pizza fans.
Yes.
And salad fans. And beer fans. That's right. Exactly.
Importantly, the beer fans.
That's right. So what can we expect on your anniversary party? Tell us a little bit more what's going on.
We've got all our pizzas for 314. It's going to be a jam-packed day all day long. Come down, any topping you want, it's still all there. We're going to have great beers for 314. It's just a great day for us to give back to the customers and say thank you for supporting us for these wonderful 2 years.
A pizza, a beer, and a tip for around $10 there.
Oh,
totally.
Less than that.
Tough.
Yeah.
That's tough to beat there.
So it's going to be a good beer. We're not tricking it with the Bud Light. It's going to be a good craft
Yeah, the
beer.
314. It'll be select beers for $3.14 a pint, and those are all craft beers. But check out our Facebook page. We have an event for it for all the details as far as the pizza special as well as the craft beers that we'll be featuring.
So any surprises, any cool stuff coming up? Or
Totally.
All right.
So we're going to have a raffle where we'll be, you know, everyone who shows up that day will get a raffle ticket. And, you know, towards the end of the evening or perhaps the following day, we'll be raffling off some great stuff, some Your Pie swag, as well as, you know, our partners over at the UFC gym here in Dunwoody are donating a couple great things, including 3 months free membership, unlimited classes.
All right.
What a great deal.
Tim, you and I can do that. We can do some ground and pound.
Get
just
it,
beat some people
it's
up.
It's so much fun. It's
There
such
you
a good
go.
workout.
Okay,
Yes.
that sounds like a plan. So very
Beer
cool.
Guys MMA.
That's right.
So
That'll be frightening.
Guys, it sounds like a blast. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing the info. And
Thanks for
congrats on your
having us.
anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We hope to see you there.
All right.
Cheers.
Take care.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting at the Prado in Sandy Springs. Joining us now are Matt and Lauren Curling from Variant Brewing Company coming to Roswell. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about what we're drinking today. Actually, you're kind enough to give us some samples here at the Cask Ale Tasting. What do we got?
So yeah, what you're drinking right now is our Imperial Breakfast Stout. It's brewed with coffee, maple, and cinnamon. It's 10.5%.
I'm drinking it right now. Sorry, though.
I was drinking too.
Yes.
I expected him to talk longer and let me get a drink there.
I did too, but that's okay. That's my fault.
I'm sorry, man. It's okay. So tasty beer, man. It's very good.
Very good.
Cheers.
Thank you. Appreciate
Cheers.
it. This is
Absolutely.
actually our
Thanks, guys.
first beer that we have
Cheers.
anywhere on the market. So very happy to be here.
So, Matt, tell us a little bit about your background, kind of how you got into brewing and what made you decide y'all decided to start a brewery.
You know, I think it started just like everybody else. I'm a big home brewer, been home brewing for 9 years. Briefly worked up at Cherry Street with Nick Tanner. Those guys are great. They've been making great beer for a long time. Really happy to have had the privilege to do that with them. That kind of just helped further my passion and, really assured that this is something that I want to do every day.
Lauren, is that your story too, or did you just get drug along and didn't have any choice in the matter?
No, kind of a mixture of both, actually. I come from a family that has always enjoyed drinking beer, and a little secret, I enjoyed drinking beer before Matt did.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So, I don't know. Throughout
Do we
the
need to
years,
cut that out of the interview, Matt?
No, you can leave it there. It's fine.
Okay, good.
So throughout the years, we've just enjoyed drinking craft beer with our friends and stuff, and it's developed into a love.
So now you guys are currently working on a location in Roswell, kind of in the building process. Where are you at in that process?
Yeah, so we're doing building renovations at the moment. Right now we're waiting on steel for the building. As soon as that comes in, we're going to be, hammering stuff out a lot faster. We've never done steel before. We've done a few buildings, but never worked with steel before. Apparently it takes a long time to get the measurements right. Measure twice, cut once.
Of course.
So,
yes.
But we expect to open sometime this summer. That's the plan, at least. And it's a little bit of taboo to talk about it because I feel like I'm always changing the date. I'm learning it's a moving timeline, but we're going to do our best to open this summer.
I don't think I've seen a brewery that has ever opened at their first timeline there. So
no.
There's just so much that goes into it. I mean, you've got permitting, construction, all this and that. There's so many hands in it that it's tough from from the time you say let's do this to say this is our date there.
Sure.
So.
And we were actually really ahead on our permitting. We already got our permits. We did all that stuff way early, and then we were like, wow, this building's going to take us longer than we thought.
Yeah. That's funny. We're talking to one of our friends, a new sponsor, CRL Contracting, and they said the same thing. Just said expectations versus reality are just never going to be the same. So good. So,
but it's happening.
It's happening.
It's happening.
That's important.
Yes.
Now, why did y'all pick Roswell for your location?
I was born and raised in Roswell, so to me it was just an easy answer. We thought about doing it other places. It just didn't feel right. Wouldn't have been home. We wanted to bring this back and share it with the community that I grew up in.
And Roswell's a great location for that too. I mean, there's Gate City there right now, so that's there. There's a brew pub coming up, so there's a lot of cool stuff. Abbey of the Holy Goat, so fantastic restaurants and shopping, in the area. So there's a lot that's there. Very cool place to have a nice brewery. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and the restaurants are great. And we're going to be right off of Norcross Street, which is across from the City Hall and Library.
Nice. So when your brewery tap room opens, what can we expect?
At the grand opening, I want to have 12 beers. We're going to have our 4-year rounds, which are an oatmeal stout, a saison, an IPA, and a blonde ale. We're going to have several variants of those beer, as the name implies. We want to take our year rounds and do as many variants as we can. We have several already planned. So we'll have several of those as well as some one-offs. And we're going to get into barrel aging. Obviously, it won't be there at the grand opening. We have a very limited space in our building, but we do want to do some barrel aging.
So, Matt, you and I we homebrewed a little bit. We know each other from those days before you started the brewery, and they say anytime you take your hobby and your passion and turn it into a job. So, are you there yet, man? Does it feel like work brewing the pilot batches and that?
Yeah,
yes, Lauren nods.
At times.
Yeah.
But no, it's still. I don't think I'll ever get old, or it'll never get old to me. So.
It can be work, but it doesn't mean work can't be fun, right?
No, absolutely. I agree.
Absolutely.
Doing the cleaning and sanitizing could be a little bit work, but at the end of the day, you're making beer.
Right.
So how bad can that be?
Right.
Yeah.
Better than being in a cubicle
it's
somewhere.
the end result that locks you in every time. When you get to try that beer and you share it with people, that's what really sells you on brewing beer. It's not the actual process itself, but...
Now, we talked to you guys at Great American Beer Fest as well. We saw you out there back in October of last year. Yep. So how was that experience for you? You learn anything? Or did you just drink the whole time and party? So,
we did our fair share of drinking and trying beers, and there's a lot of good local beer in Colorado. And obviously Great American Beer Fest has beer from everywhere. So it was a lot of fun, and we got to try a lot of cool different things that we wouldn't usually get to try. But... definitely a learning experience, getting to talk to some of the other brewers, what they like, what they don't like, things on their system that they would change if they in hindsight. So I think that stuff is just absolutely irreplaceable, getting that knowledge and talking to other brewers about their systems and what you're doing and getting recommendations.
How much have you learned during this whole process? I mean, it's just... being, like we said before, being a brewer is a little bit different than ramping it up to being a pro. And, of course, you're also being a contractor at the same time, too. So has that been a learning experience for y'all?
It has. Luckily, I work with my dad and brother. They're our developing partners on the building, and they've done building projects before. So luckily, in that aspect, I haven't had to be too hands-on. They're kind of taking the reins on the developing part. Okay. So I get to focus on the beer.
That's good.
Yeah,
very key. So
just the way you like it, right?
Exactly.
So,
that's
awesome.
Right. We're talking to Matt and Lauren Curling from Variant Brewing Company, opening soon in Roswell, Georgia. And, of course, we're here at the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting, 13th Annual. We just got here. Have you guys had any – what are some of the beers that you've had so far that have stood out for you?
We haven't had too many. We got in, and I got to try the Wicked Weed Cuban coffee.
Nice.
Was really good. We got to have Mazert, which is actually right behind us, which was great as well.
We worked that out with our placement here.
Exactly. That was one of our demands.
Yes,
very,
right.
very appropriate. No, other than that, we got in, we tried ours, and we kind of came right over here.
So what about the Cask Ale Tasting? Why is this kind of different than other beer events?
I love this event. I think it's my favorite every year, personally. What's so unique about it is every brewery that you're trying takes one of their beers and does something special to it. So the people that are coming here are likely trying a beer that they're only going to try at this event, and they'll never get to try it again. And it's just a very unique experience. It's very intimate. It feels inclusive to a consumer
And I think also the fact that it's focused on local beers is really special. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not just the beer here, but talking about the focus on the local beers. If you want to come to a place and try beers and talk to the brewers, and that I've seen brewers from half a dozen breweries, and I haven't made it out of my little corner yet.
Exactly.
So it's a great place not only for the beer, but the entire environment here, the social aspect of it to it, and the educational, if you see a brewer, is just really, there's nothing else like it around here. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Matt and Lauren, if someone wants to find out more about the Progressive variant, where should they go?
Absolutely. We're on all social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. It's Variant Brewing Company. Please check us out. We'll have our website up soon. We're working on that. So
excellent.
Awesome.
And I saw Lauren there. Go ahead and doing some selfies while we're on the radio show.
That's right.
That'll be I caught her doing that.
Watch
so we'll
it.
have some of
So
those.
watch social media for those. Definitely.
Post some of those.
I appreciate that.
Awesome.
Hashtag beer guys. There we go.
Yeah,
It's all
there we
good. Anyway, time for another break. Thanks again for joining us today. We really
Thank you for having us.
Definitely. So yeah, we're going to take another break here. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Coming up next, we'll have a giveaway to give away, and we'll also be talking to Ryan Skinner and from Good Word Brewing. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Make sure to follow us on Beer Guys Radio on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for the latest in Georgia and Alabama beer. And we will be right back.
Have you ever thought about owning your own brewery but don't know what it takes to get one built? We're CRL Contracting, and we build breweries. We're the most experienced contractors in the state of Georgia when it comes to building new breweries and tap rooms. If you've been to Orpheus, Second Self, or Scofflaw, then you know what kind of work we can do. Just give us a call at 678-546-3382 or visit crlcontracting.com. CRL Contracting. We build breweries.
You do not want to miss Nui Belge, February 25th at the Foundry at Puritan Mill in downtown Atlanta. Nui Belge pairs Belgian and Belgian-inspired beers along with some of the South's best chefs. Head to nuibelge.com/Atlanta today. Use promo code BGR10 for $10 off your admission. That's Nui Belge, an evening of Belgian beers and some fantastic food. Saturday, February 25th at the Foundry at Puritan Mill. Tickets and details at nuitbelge.com/Atlanta. And don't forget, use promo code BGR10 for $10 off.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting at the Prado in Sandy Springs. And joining us on the show is Ryan Skinner and Todd DiMatteo. They're founding Good Word Brewing in Duluth. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
You guys.
So you guys are both part of the team at Brick Store. What made you decide to venture out and do your own thing in a brew pub?
Todd, you want to take that?
We were bored.
Okay.
Bored.
No, Ryan started Brick Store, I guess, 3 years ago or so.
About that, yeah.
And we were sitting in the office one day, and, we started talking about ideas, what we wanted to do, whether it would be another beer bar or something like that. And we got hooked on the idea of opening a brew pub, and that's kind of how it started.
Now, the guys from Brick Store, Dave, is he involved in the brew pub as well?
So yeah, all three guys, Mike, Tom, and Dave, are all partners with us. We also have another partner, Andrew Case. He's a CPA, so he needed somebody who was smarter than us, and that's why he's part of the team.
He's a numbers guy.
Yeah. He's a numbers guy.
That's right.
Got to have those guys for sure.
Yeah.
So that's Ryan. You talked about you've been at Brick Store for a few years. You and I had talked before. You actually did what a lot of people talk about doing, and you left the corporate grind to kind of pursue your passion, right?
Yeah, sometimes you got to jump.
Right.
And
That's right.
I think it was time to jump. I'm lucky enough to have a wife that let me do that too. So that was a big financial decision. But in the end, you don't need money to be happy. So I've found happiness and a better future now too.
Sure.
We've created something pretty cool, I hope, in the future. That it would be better than anything corporate could provide me or any amount of money they could provide me.
Awesome.
Definitely. Plus, you get to, again, drink beer for a
beer,
living.
right? Yeah.
It's true.
That is a pretty good perk.
Nothing wrong with that, exactly.
Right.
I'm right there with you. So I'm a Gwinnett County resident, and I am so excited that you guys have chosen Duluth as the location. Why did you choose that area?
So Ryan lives in Suwanee and has since he moved to Georgia, I believe, and he was saying from the beginning, hey, man, there's nothing out here, nothing, really out here like that Brick Store has to offer, and to be honest with you, I've lived inside the perimeter since the 90s, and I was like, no freaking... Can I curse on the show or no?
You just did. No, it's fine. You're good with that.
All right.
Yes.
I was hoping I could. Anyway, so, I didn't want to leave the perimeter, to be honest with you, and we started looking inside the perimeter for commercial deals, and the real estate inside is just really expensive and not a whole lot of good deals, and there's just so much going on. It's like, well, where else can we go? And, we finally listened to Ryan and went out and saw downtown Duluth, and it's just perfect. And, I mean, there's an open container law, so people can grab beers and walk around the little square there.
The square is really cool, and they've got a lot of events in the square and stuff. It's fun,
Yeah, so we're one of a few restaurants that are come from inside the perimeter out to that area. I think that in the next year and a half or so, it's going to be really happening. So we're looking forward to it.
You're filling in another gap on the map that we have here in Georgia, so that's awesome to see. Yeah. We see a little bit more of that coming in throughout this year, that there are places coming that don't have breweries right now. So
totally.
It's something that's going to be good for Georgia to everywhere you go, you can find a brewery or brew pub.
Yeah. Hyper local.
Exactly.
Well, Gwinnett County is big as it is. I mean, 1 million some people pretty soon.
Right.
For me out there, the only place that I ever went was Local Republic to get a decent beer.
Exactly.
Which is a great place.
Which is a great place, and I love those guys. But that was really it. And so that's, for me, it was like an itch I couldn't scratch, too. I knew there's a market out there. There is people out there. They don't just all drink Bud Light Lime.
That's right.
They will drink a good beer.
We do not.
So.
That's right.
Yeah.
We are going to make some variant of Bud Light Lime for those Bud Light Lime folks.
Yeah, awesome. There you go.
Cask-only release of the Bud Light Lime enchilada. That's it.
I will say the Brickstore guys, they saw that area and were like, dude, this is like Decatur was 20 years ago. So
they were on board.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because you guys originally had talked about staying in that area, Decatur, Avondale, right?
Ryan and I snuck into a building across from Kimball House about 6 times. We rolled up under the garage door and looked around. It's a cool building. I wish I could say it's a beautiful space, but we could see good word being there. And I'm glad that we were talked out of that because, Decatur, as great as it is and as much as I'm going to miss it, there's a lot already going on. So I think that niche is filled by folks like Twain's and Brickstore and Kimball and Leon.
Yeah, you're looking at a market that's almost saturated, as opposed to one that's really still waiting for that to open.
Totally.
Well, it's interesting you hearing about being inside the perimeter, and you don't want to. Like I was in the perimeter, I don't want to go out there. For those of us, Aaron and I both live OTP.
Yeah.
Ryan,
it's okay
OTP.
to be OTP.
Well, now
it is.
I moved not too long ago, 2 months ago, to Sewanee now. So Ryan,
I remember you mentioned you were.
Yeah, we live like 5 minutes from each other.
So we're here at the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting. Again, Owen Ogletree puts on a great promotion. Thank him for having us out here. What have you guys had so far that you've liked? What's special about this festival?
Well, Ryan's sick, so he was drinking Robitussin in the parking lot.
Oh, that's my favorite.
It's called the Robo
Cask or just the standard stuff?
Cask. You don't want the carbonation in the Robitussin.
No, definitely not.
I think JR made a
dry hop Robitussin.
It messes up the
JR's
mouthfeel.
Yes, indeed.
For me, this is like the one festival I always come to every year because it's so much of like a who's who in the brewing scene in Atlanta. You've got all the brewers, owners, reps, all the nerds. Everyone is here, and it's awesome. I really enjoy it. You get to hobnob for as much time as I spend drinking. Today I only tasted one beer because I don't feel good, and it was from Southern, Brian out at Southern. He did a Berliner Weiss, and it was awesome. And anytime I can give that guy a shout-out, I will because he's a good man. But that beer was fantastic, for sure.
So this is the first time I've actually been out here. I've been at Brickstore for 11 years and just never get to go to any events. And I'll tell you, after playing in a band for about 10 years as well, I love being on stage, but I don't like crowds. I love hosting at Brickstore. I love people coming into the pub, but out here I'm just like, oh my god, it's
a little bit of the claustrophobia sense.
I'm with you.
That's what I get that with. I love going to concerts. I love live music. I'm just too old now. I hate to say that for the crowds and the insanity.
The first two things you want to know is where's the bathroom and where can I get beer.
That's it.
Not in that order, actually.
One goes with the other one,
right?
But that's about it. So
I took 2 cups.
There you go.
Talking of beer, we talked a little bit back, and you guys had a very cool concept for a table beer. I think you said kind of a saison table beer.
Yeah.
Is that still a plan you have for your brew pub?
It definitely is. Ryan's got. We've been working on this thing for a long time. You mentioned Brian earlier from Southern, and we went and did a big experiment with those guys. But this is something that Ryan's been kind of babying for a while, and I don't know if we'll open with the table beer, but I think that we're going to be really close, if not right away. But I think it'll definitely be a beer we eventually have. But Ryan's got a cool idea. He wanted to have like it be served when he come up, like in a almost like in a amuse bouche.
Right.
We don't know how legally we're going to figure that out, but we'll see something.
Show your ID and get a carafe of table beer.
That's right.
The whole goal being out there just kind of fed into the whole goal with the concept of the food. Speaks more to Todd and his family and having a sense of home and having somebody come into your home. How do you make them feel welcome, especially outside of the perimeter where everything is chains and you're just another number. They just want your money. They don't care who you are. So we wanted to create something where the food it feels homey, like you're in somebody's home, and then the beer as well. When you come in, you're welcomed with something. Like when you go see your grandmother, they offer you a drink or they offer you food. And for us, that's kind of the idea of the table beer. It's a really low-gravity beer that anybody could drink, and it's almost like a welcome to our pub, welcome to our place.
And that might be a good intro because, again, like you talk about in Duluth and Gwinnett County, not a lot of craft beer influence in there. You're going to have some education, I think, to the crowd that comes on in.
Yeah, I mean, I bet 50% of the people that come in will know beer, know what they want, know the styles, and the other 50%, that'll be on us to educate them with the product or help them along, without being pretentious, without making it seem like we're cooler than they are. That'll definitely be a goal for us, is to make it approachable and easy.
Yeah,
that's been one of the best things that. I'm sorry, I was going to say it's one of the best things at Brick Store. It's like we get people who come in for Bud Light Lime, and then we've got folks like Ryan or any staff that can lead them to where they need to be or let them grow a little bit and try something new. It's really a fun, cool thing to see somebody change from crappy macro beer into something really niche and cool.
I had my cousin come down from Michigan about a year ago, and she likes beer, but she's not a beer person, so she's Natty Light is her thing. But she said she wanted me to show her Georgia beer.
Right.
So we ended up in Little Five and went to Wrecking Bar, grabbed a bite to eat, had a couple things, and went down to the Porter, and I'm suggesting beers, and we get this. So they get some, and they take a sip, and they snarl their face up. And Molly's actually serving our table there that night. And my buddy and I, we get something from the cellar. They put it in a lambic basket. And we're just geeking out on this. And she asks the waitress, she's like, "What do you guys have that's like natural light?" So and without breaking pace at all, there was no snobbery there.
Yeah.
She made suggestions of something. If this is what you like to drink, here's some suggestions I have of something that may not be offensive to you.
Sure.
So, and that's something that's nice. I think we get a bit of an unfair rap. Most beer guys, it's the majority. The majority are good people. You've got the few that make a lot of noise.
Sure, if you don't get it, you can't get it kind of thing. It's like,
the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just beer. It's delicious. We just need to drink more of it.
I love it. It's only beer.
That's it.
It should be fun.
Ryan, Todd, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck with your ventures, and look forward to seeing what you guys are bringing to Duluth.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, Tim, we've got a giveaway to give away.
We do. We've got a winner this week of a cool swag pack, and our winner is John Del Vicario.
Awesome.
And so, Aaron, why don't you tell folks if they want to enter to win how they can do that?
Yeah, sure. Just visit beerguysradio.com and sign up for This Week in Georgia Beer. You'll get a weekly newsletter with all of the happenings in Georgia Beer, and you'll all to be entered to win our weekly swag pack. So, John, go ahead and just shoot us an email. And what's that email, Tim?
It's beerguys@beerguysradio.com.
Yep, and we'll go ahead and get that prize pack out to you. So we're good to go. Hey, we're going to wrap it up for this week. Next week, though, we're going to cider it up a little bit. Mercer Orchard is going to be in the studio with us. So check us out on beerguys.com. beerguysradio.com.
You're just train wrecking this.
I'm a
man.
mess.
Have you done this before?
Is this a radio? Were you on the radio?
beerguysradio.com.
Okay, there you go. Drink local. Cheers, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're on demand via iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Always online at beerguysradio.com. Aaron and Tim are back next week with more about the amazing world of craft beer. Cheers.
There is something in the air in Kennesaw. I'm sure you've noticed it. It is the sweet, sweet smell of barbecue permeating from The Nest, a new barbecue and beer restaurant in K-Town. The Nest is your new restaurant if you really love barbecue. Ribs, brisket, chicken, oh my. Did we mention the bar? The Nest of Kennesaw offers 49 taps of craft beer and an amazing bottle list as well. It's quite simple. If you really like barbecue and craft beer, you have to visit The Nest. Barbecue and beer in Kennesaw, near historic downtown on Cherokee. If you really like craft beer, the Stout Brothers Smyrna Beer Market invites you to their store. Not just growlers and craft beer, but everything you need for backyard barbecues and tailgating is available at Stout Brothers. Big Green Egg, accessories, local meats, cheeses, sauces, pickles, and more. If the gang's plans involve your backyard this weekend, you gotta visit the Stout Brothers. Stock up today and get ready for life. It's quite simple. If you really like craft beer, you have to visit the Stout Brothers Smyrna Beer Market in the Smyrna Market Village.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
I didn't enjoy it at all.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
And welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show, a podcast extra. This time at the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting, 13th annual. So it's very exciting, Tim.
It is. We're doing this on the fly.
Absolutely.
We just had an excellent opportunity, and we wanted to seize that opportunity. So
there you go.
We're joined here by Des Demore, a beer writer and beer judge based out of London, UK. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for talking to me.
Absolutely. We also have Steve Hamburg here. Steve is a man of many talents. He's a cask cellarman, a cask mark ambassador, a beer judge and a beer writer, correct?
Yeah, I'm based in Chicago.
Everything up in Chicago.
Guy. Exactly.
So we're a little warm down here. How's it been in Chicago?
It's the same here as it is today.
It is?
Okay, well, there
yeah.
you go.
Got that. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us. We just want to talk to you a little bit because we are at a unique event today with the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting. You know, cask ales is something that we don't see a ton of down here. Probably a little bit more over your way.
Yeah,
so.
Just a wee bit more.
Yeah, so
but rather different in terms of what goes into the cask.
Right. So yeah, we get crazy here with them, just like we do all of our beer. But both of you guys judged today, correct? Judged it. So what'd you think? How were the casks?
I think there's definitely brewers need work.
Yeah.
I still have to say this. To be honest, I mean the biggest thing, everyone wants to make a goofy beer.
Right.
That's kind of but cask beer, for some reason, we always joke about it, is that for some reason brewers seem to forget the rules of brewing when they put beer in a cask. It's not like, like a vessel where you rub it and it becomes great beer.
Yeah.
The rules of brewing still apply. So just because you put beer in a cask doesn't mean it magically turns into beautiful beer. You still have to age it properly, carbonate it properly, make sure that what goes into it is really good.
Now, the rules for a cask ale are you brew a beer, and then whatever is at the local candy store and in your spice cabinet, you then throw that in the cask, correct?
That seems to be the way.
That's the way, right?
Well, it seems to be lately.
So I'm a fan of, I really enjoy the stouts on cask where they do add the cocoa, vanilla, coffee beans and that. I enjoy that a lot. But I know, especially, Des, for you, coming from traditional, I guess, camera-style cask ales, this is probably a huge departure.
Well, I think cask, as we understand it in the UK, evolved for a particular style of beer that was low gravity, fairly kind of restrained flavour. And the point about cask was if you take a beer like that, that's otherwise really well made but has quite subtle flavours. If you chilled that beer down and carbonated it, you wouldn't taste that subtlety, whereas if you serve it at a, not warm, cask should not be warm and flat, which is another thing I think brewers could really do with learning, not just in this country actually, but back in the UK, some of them. But if you sell, you got a slightly cooler temperature, just cool but not cold, and not a pleasant carbonation but not too much, you're going to taste the subtle flavours in a beer that has subtle flavours. So it wasn't a kind of style of beer that needed a lot of stuff added to it. And I think the interesting thing here, the big contrast is, as you say, it's whatever's in the spice cabinet. And I think that's partly because cask is, very much a minority thing here. So, as somebody we were talking to earlier on was saying, if you've got 50 taps and your cask is your 51st, the brewer's going to think, how do I make an impression? And perhaps the shortcut to making that impression is to bung the coffee in and the chilies and the cinnamon and all the rest of the stuff that goes in. But, I'm not necessarily sure whether that's always the best idea.
It might be an interesting thing, to have their classic pale ale on tap and then have the same one on cask. To have people try the difference between the two.
Yeah. And there are, brewers in the States that brew cask, in those styles. There's, I've had Sly Fox brewing their kind of pale ale in cask from Philadelphia, and that actually is it's a beer that really, really suits the cask, and it brings out the flavours of it beautifully.
I hadn't thought about it much, but I guess, it's just kind of a transition. There's a lot of newer brewers in the U.S. We've had a boom here recently, so, there's not as long a tradition as there is in the U.K., so, we started with the heavy hop and the spicing and all that in the beers, and I'm sure that was just transferred over to the cask, so because I don't think a lot of American beer drinkers would appreciate a very well-done English pale ale, ESB, something like that. There's a...
But frankly, I think we're in an age now where look at how many brewers, even, classic craft brewers, are now focusing on really classic beers like a Pilsner.
Right.
Look how many really good Pilsner. Because in the end, beer is meant to be drunk over time. And so we need to sort of back away from the intensity of flavors. I mean, when you go to the bar with your friends, do you want to drink thimblefuls of beers? So many of the beers that I have are so intensely flavored and they're so complex.
Sure.
They're not the kinds of things you drink by the pint.
Right.
And yet, beer is meant to be sociable. It's meant, and it's not supposed to be a snooty kind of thing. There could be great complexity and simplicity. But it's elegance, it's execution, and cask is one of those ways that you can make something like a basic pale ale. Even an IPA can be wonderful in cask, but it has to be done well.
Right.
And one of the things that IPA needs is good carbonation. One of the things we see in newer American brewers, and actually a lot of American brewers who try to do cask when they do IPAs, is they don't get the carbonation right.
Okay.
And they think that cask beer has to be flat. Cask beer still has to have condition, and it may not be as hard as frisky as a standard draft beer, but it can't be flat. It just doesn't taste right.
Of course.
And I have seen a lot here, especially on the stouts and that, where they are fairly still. You may just get a little bit on the top of the beer, but there's not much to it there.
But I find that disappointing.
Yeah, think about a stout. So what do people like in a Guinness? The classic Guinness pour and a nitro pour.
Yep.
What cask beer properly done should evoke, to a great extent, is the same kind of pour that you'd see with our nitro pours. Is that the beer engine properly done with a properly cellared cask beer should produce that same sheeting, that beautiful carbonation that you see. And sadly, it's missing, and I don't know why, because it's not that hard to do.
But it's coming back to styles. It's an interesting point that you said that, actually there are everyday styles of craft beer in the United States. People are quite prepared to drink German-influenced beers,
right?
That are far more kind of everyday, sessionable beers, easy to drink them in pints, sociable, all the rest of it. Why not a kind of classic pale ale or a bitter in a cask?
Yeah.
The idea that all craft beer has to be weird is not, by no means universal, even among craft beer consumers. So.
Sure. Now, Des, I know we had a few that Owen was mentioning to us. We actually have a few casks here from English brewers. Now, did you get a chance to try those here?
I haven't tried them yet, but then I can try them at home. So
that's true.
Well, I come all this way.
Well, that's what I was wondering. What I was wondering there is how well they took the trip, basically, and how good of an example or similar they were to, what you get in the UK. If you're here, you go to the Cask Ale Tasting, you wanted to try something that was a little more similar to the styles. If maybe those English ones that took the trip over may fit that a little bit better. So,
I certainly plan to check them out, but I was deliberately encouraged not to judge them.
Okay, a little biased.
But frankly, I'm looking forward to them to see how the condition holds up.
Right.
And one of the biggest problems about bringing traditional casks from England to this country is that the gravity is so low that they usually don't survive the trip. I mean, classic standard bitters are going to be mild is going to be 3.5%. A standard bitter will be 3.8 to 4%. And they just don't survive the shipping over here.
Yeah.
So the casks we get that tend to hold up the best tend to have more alcoholic strength. And I think, if guys are doing stouts or a stronger beer, then we have the J. Willie Lee's, J.W. Lee's.
Yeah.
They usually do some really interesting strong beers. I want to see what the condition is in those, because I think they'll be interesting to see how they hold up.
But those are beers that would be really rare to find in cask in the UK, actually. The sort of, the big strong harvest ales and the barley wines and things. They'd be the ones the geeks were hovering around at a beer festival.
Okay.
Yeah. But you're more likely to see in your local pub is there's an ESB with a low ABV and just have that ready to go. Yeah. Excellent.
Is there much there? On that side, is cask ale still dominant there, and the English and Pales in the UK? Is there much of the beer geek set, I guess, so to speak?
Well, it's still not. It's not dominant. It hasn't been dominant for ages. What it is most of the beer drunk in the UK is commercial lager, now in the same way it is anywhere in the world. But what it is it's still a significant sector of the market. So it's still a commercial proposition. It's still something you can get in tens of thousands in pubs. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be at top condition in all those tens of thousands of pubs.
Sure.
And that's, again, the problem with cask, that it needs to be really, really well looked after. And I think that is an issue that we have to face. We also have the issue that, as here, we've had a massive growth in breweries in the UK. So we're now like 1,500, 1,600 breweries from something like, back in the 1970s, about 100 of them. So it's just absolutely rocketed. And a lot of the breweries are brewing beers in contemporary styles, influenced by American craft breweries. A lot of them are now brewing good quality beer, but not in cask format. So cask now has an issue in that it's being challenged by formats that you can no longer say it's just a commercial, stuff that's in cask, that's in keg. It's actually now kind of good quality beer in keg as well. So it's quite an interesting situation at the moment.
And remember that cask beer, all beer requires care kept in the pub.
Yeah.
But cask beer is really at its best when you have this great partnership between the brewer and the pub cellar person.
Sure.
And that requires training. There are techniques. It's not like it's rocket science.
Right.
I learned this stuff. I'm an American guy.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do, but you have to learn.
It is in Georgia.
No,
they can't you get the brewers and they can't go out to the
hell,
pub to do that.
Anyone can learn this.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's really getting that balance between. You can put really nice beer in a cask and have it ruin the pub cellar.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, but in general, I think that's missing, and we see that in the UK as well.
Yeah.
Is that we don't have the cellar skills, the pub skills to keep cask beer at its best.
Okay.
And that's always been the struggle to keep cask beer as good as it is, or as it can be. And there's the myth that Americans have when they travel to Britain, is they think everybody's drinking cask ale.
Yeah.
And I hope Des will,
Sure, right here talking
you.
to Des, that's what I was saying. I still was under the impression that it was pretty dominant there, that, you went to your local pub and they pulled you a fresh cask there. So it's it's interesting to learn that.
Many places will have it, but very few places will have it good.
It's the only country left where, that style of beer is still part of the mainstream commercial beer scene.
Yeah,
it's not here where,
where
most pubs will have it, won't necessarily sell it well. And I think coming back to that issue of quality, that's the reason why the big brewers wanted to get rid of it back in the 1960s, at the time that they started pushing to get rid of it, is because of this thing that it's so dependent on the pub.
Yeah.
So if the pub messes it up, right, who is actually the person whose reputation suffers? It's actually not the pub that gets the blame. It's the guy who's got their name written on the pump clip or on the,
Yeah,
So
when I talk to guys in the States who are doing cask, and they say, I love this beer, but I don't really care how it's handled in the pub. I said, yeah, but your name's not on the, the pub name.
Yeah.
It's your brewery name. It's your brand.
Yeah,
so
you better know. Be
you
thankful.
better know.
Exactly.
So it's really important that we get the beers right. If there's anything, if I can encourage anything to brewers and pubs in this country, is to do the homework and get it right. Because in the end, it's about drinking really fabulous beer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great cask beer is wonderful.
with the right style, perfectly done.
But it should be
marvelous. Yeah.
Let's remember, it shouldn't be warm, flat, or cloudy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
With rare exceptions, sometimes it's acceptable to be a little cloudy, a little hazy, but it's supposed to be nice and conditioned. Nobody wants a flat beer, and nobody wants a warm beer.
Exactly.
Steve, are there any places up in Chicago doing cask ales or anything?
There are places in Chicago. There are places all over the country that do it, but they're not. We're talking about, instead of tens of thousands like in the UK, we have 700 or 800 in the US that do cask beer regularly.
Right.
So many brewers, there are many places that do it. I mean, Revolution, always, if you go to the Revolution brewpub, they always have cask beer.
They do a very nice mild, actually. On cask.
Speaking of style, we don't see it very often here in the States. Mild is very rare.
They do a very nice mild called...
Pretty rare in the UK now as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great shame. It's one of my favourite styles.
That's one brewery I've had out in Chicago, Microphone. We've had a few people bring us their beers, and I've enjoyed that. Jason, that I just saw walk by, he brought us some.
He did, exactly.
With Hopspot Beer Tours.
That's right.
Well, they're newer. They're like the last 2 years, and I haven't seen their beer in cask, so I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's a good time, though. Yeah. So, now, Des, you're headed to New Orleans after Atlanta, is that correct?
Yep, tomorrow. Yeah.
What's going on in New Orleans? Just going to party?
I've never been there, and it is perhaps one of the most culturally important cities in the world in terms of music and all the other things that happen there. So I'm over here, I'm on the East Coast, and I'm keen to see
Might as well
go.
But, it works. I love New Orleans. I've been a few times, and it's a place I love to go for a weekend, but I'm not sure I could live there.
Oh, gosh, no.
Because it would kill me.
It would. It would actually kill me, too.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. Absolutely.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're on demand via iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Always online at beerguysradio.com. Aaron and Tim are back next week with more about the amazing world of craft beer. Cheers. The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com.